Flying Universe, everyone. This is Micah here, and we have today a wonderful opportunity to sit again together with an artist who have performed recently at the Flying Universe live ceremony. And today it is our dear friend, brilliant, one-of-a-kind musician, and a beautiful heart, Estas Tonne. Welcome, Estas.
Hi there. Hi, greetings to all.
And before we let our discussion unfold, we would like to mention that actually this is a co-creation of all of us together, because many of you accepted an invitation to submit questions for Estas. Some of you from Estas music family all over the world, some of you from Flying Universe community. So we would like to thank you very much for your creative input. And now we can spill the spotlight on you, Estas. And start maybe with a question that many beings have, that when they are listening to Estas Tonne music, it brings them to sort of kind of a meditative or higher state. And they are curious to know whether the music is composed with this intention, and whether you yourself, when you are playing, also find yourself in such a meditative state.
I mean, the thing is that I would answer question with the question, because when we say that we are reaching some sort of a higher state, is it really what is happening there, or we are just cleaning the garbage so we can feel the real state? You see what I mean? Because if we get out of our analytical mind, at least for some moments, what happens there, right? You know, it's quite an interesting way, of course, to be human being, where we running right through life and do all kind of things, and we are so busy in all kind of activities, sometimes very beautiful activities, but still quite busy, right? And then when we allow ourselves to go off this rat race track for a moment, then what do we see there? Is it really we are reaching to some higher state, or we are just reaching to the real state, which is always there, you just we are somewhere else? You know, so I would say like playing instrument and doing any kind of activity that allows us to see this pure space, pure presence. These are just tools for that. Doesn't matter what we do. In my case, it's music, guitar playing, right? But also some other things.
So for everyone else, it might be something different at higher state, and seeing that purity of oneself is definitely one of them. So it's very individual.
I mean, we have this kind of like branding nowadays about this spiritual phenomena and what the higher state is, and we need to reach out to the stars, and though we wanted to be here, it seems, even though we don't remember exactly the whole phenomena of being human, right? So it's quite often it's just being not in the super higher state, but we being also very grounded, you know, really standing firmly on our feet upon the earth, without flying so high, but also being in its simplicity, without all this flying bubbles that quite often we hear from spiritual practitioners or teachers, or you know, this is maybe their experience, but those who are studying the case very often flying somewhere else, not actually being here fully.
Perhaps it's different for everyone, and it's also very difficult to put it in words, actually, because when one truly drifts away from all these buzzes around daily life, and suddenly just being present with the music in the moment, it's really difficult to describe. So that's why perhaps they call it a little bit higher state.
Right, of course. But in the same time, we are given a language. We are given the way to speak with each other. So we cannot deny the fact that words are completely meaningless. They cannot justify the states of being, right? And the silence of, but we are given these instruments. Those of us that can speak, there are those beings in the world that cannot speak. They're deaf, let's say, or they have some other, so to say, limitations, which would be also foundation for their own development, which is essential, right? But in the same time, we are given the tool of communication also through the voice, also through the speech. So if we cannot express it, maybe it's good to practice to do so as well, because it's one of the tools, and it's like we would be denied. But this is very often we say that we cannot express, we cannot put in words what we are experiencing. It. Maybe we don't try good enough. Maybe we could. When we hear a wonderful, great piece of poetry, should we say that it should not exist? Of course not. This is just one of the tools to express the divinity. So it's maybe we're not trying good enough to express what we could be expressing, because who knows, maybe someone who never could express these different states of being, if they would try, they would speak like Rumi or Hafiz. I don't know, could be, also could be.
Yes. And would you say that for you, music is also a tool that maybe connects you deeper within yourself, whatever we can call as the self in our own language, in our own perception?
I mean, we are given different mediums to feel the connection with that uh, unshakably unshakable and unmistakable space for what we are, right? It's just, in my case, it's a guitar playing, but I am also not learning, but remembering how to do so through other forms of expression, and also just through way of being, right? This is over pretty much a lifetime. I'm observing the aspects of myself where I can see as a division between that personality who holds the guitar and plays, right? And that one who runs through life on a daily basis, right? So there is quite a big difference between those beings, right? And the point is to unite all of it in everyone, not just in my life, but in everyone's life. When we see aspects of ourselves broken in different pieces and split, that's the mastery already. How do we bring all of them together without trying to construct it, trying to put it really together? How do I bring this part of me with this part of me? This is mathematical stuff. It's nothing wrong with mathematics, but it's not the way it is, right? The way it could be. So I feel like it's not even more like connecting with something, rather taking ourselves from the way as being an obstacle to that.
Yes, it sounds like a paradox, actually. A big paradox.
Kind of, it's this is what I've seen many times in life, that we say that we need an inspiration to do something, but do we really need an inspiration to do just maybe we need to see where we are in that moment so we can recognize the inspiration. Because
Yes.
maybe in that moment when we're searching for inspiration, we are somewhere else and not really in that moment, right? For inspiration to present itself, we need to listen, to feel. That's what we call to be in connection to it, right? But it's just we are ourselves creating ourselves obstacles that we're trying to go through, right? And it's some sort of a sweet game we play with each other, with ourselves, and with each other also, of course.
Yes, it is a paradox,
That's
definitely.
that's the paradox. But imagine this, that inside such a paradox, also what happens, um, something happens inside of this paradox, because in this somethingness we can touch the nothingness in the same time. But for it to touch the nothingness, we need to go through somethingness. That's a paradox, but then it gives it's an opportunity. That's part of the play, it seems, right?
It
Otherwise,
is.
there would be just like still water all the time. But that stillness is somewhere there, right? But we are here not just to sit in the meditating pose. We are here for so many reasons, to do so many things, to create so many things. But in the same time, observe the life that is changing all the time.
It is like a game of transcendence or something like that, all the time, transcending, and seeing where it moves us farther.
Right? In a way.
Maybe. So our listeners also are asking something that is quite nicely connected to what we have just said. Whether you have some kind of a habit or a practice or a method that you do and you could recommend in order to sparkle creativity and improvisation. Or in other words, how you keep yourself focused and energized and creative in order to produce such beautiful music.
I'm not a machine. That's number one. Definitely not. Which means like I cannot just be on all the time, in the sense of doing, right? So certain practices, they're just tools for kind of clearing the space. And sometime I do this. I have waves of different practices. So let's say it doesn't matter, be body practices or breathing practices or playing practices or any kind of thing. So doing nothing practices, and it's just like I don't have a religious book I'm following. You see, so if I feel like playing right now for 10 minutes, I will do that. If I feel like playing for an hour, I will do that. But I'm not going to sit every day for 5 hours just to reach a certain place of perfection. I've done it in the earlier years where it was not also about reaching somewhere else. It was just probably a way of clearing the space. And if I needed 5 hours a day to clean my space, I needed to clean my space for 5 hours a day. And if nowadays I feel inspired to touch an instrument for 2 hours, I do that. And if I do it only for 10 minutes, I do that. And if I feel like doing yoga, I do that. If I don't feel like, I don't do that. So it's uh, I see the battle inside myself, and I'm sure that everyone can relate to it. When we say ourselves, I need to do this, I need to do this and that, I need to reach that and that place. This is also good, but this would be never-ending battle of setting certain goals that we need to reach, because quite often we don't even know who is trying to reach any goals inside us. Is it our own kind of like ego force, or is it metaphysical forces that are pushing us to do something? Sometimes we need to kick in the ass as well to move forward, to do things as well, But again, I don't have the set rules for it. I'm in the phase of my life when I'm relaxing right now into anything. I'm kind of relaxing into my own battle, that I need to have schedules, and I need to follow those schedules, because if I go through my diaries over decades, I see that all those schedules that I was trying to create myself never worked. Never. Never. But about the question regarding focus, that comes where I am fully in the zone of doing being. When the stars get on stage, nothing else exists apart from what he does in that moment. You see, so that is that place of focus. So let's say if I want to play guitar and check my messages on the telephone, it's not going to happen. It's, or I can do that or that, you know. So it's a matter of diving into the activity entirely, fully, when it's undivided. There is nothing else there, you know. And of course, I know I could only speak about this because I tried, you know, when I could watch a movie, I play guitar, and also check what's going on my phone and eat in the same time. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's possible, but I'm not in any of these places in that moment, you know. And this could be in regards to anything we do. So focus, it's like when we entirely into something. But for this, can they say that we need a special kind of inspiring moment to dive into that? I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, it's sometimes we need to be triggered because we operate in very, very different ways. We have to study our personal case to understand how we operate each individually. We cannot be like clones, machines, operate the same way, everyone. What works for person A maybe wouldn't never work for the person B, you know? So creating the same settings for everyone, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like everyone go in the old school of education, you know, everyone given the same program, but it's not right, actually. It's not correct way to enhance the perception and study and focus, because everyone is different, you know. So I feel like it's really essential for everyone to study their own case, how they operate.
Yes, absolutely. And perhaps it's also a lot about willingness and full involvement in what we do, and to find
Right.
that
Yeah.
that journey
Yeah.
and just focus on it, as you said.
Right.
And then we
Yeah.
can juggle lots of things together also, but the focus is there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And one of our friends is curious about how to find a balance between spontaneity and uncertainty in life on one side, and responsibility and stability on the other. Because from what we can observe from you, as much as we outsiders can observe, you seem to be driven very much by spontaneity and playfulness of life. But we are curious about knowing, like, how to find that right balance between these two sides.
Spontaneity and authenticity. That's what was the first.
Let's say spontaneity and uncertainty in life,
Right.
when you actually just respond to what life brings to you, and on the
Right.
other hand, all these responsibilities and, let's say, the need for stability and security on the other hand.
Well, I have no idea.
But you must be doing something right. since
I
since
don't
we
know.
feel like that.
I mean, maybe it's just a projection that I'm doing something right. I'm just doing it my own way, you know. But is it right for everyone else? Maybe not, you know, because everyone would want to have the day beginning and unfolding in very different ways. You know, we live very different lives, all of us. So to give like a one kind of like a book by ET is impossible, right? Because I have my own kind of like madness I'm swimming through, you know. So to say like spontaneity is something that if you take it as, let's say, when we look at the child, it's spontaneous, right? When it's still kind of in the state of being fearless, right? It's when we say we look at really small children, right? Small, really small. Not when they're already starting to copy everything around and copying their parents and copying like trying to get manipulative and get the sweets and all kind of stuff, right? But when it's pure essence of it, it's um, it's spontaneous. He or she are very spontaneous, quite honest. There is no bullshit around, right? And then we come to the certain time in our lives when we're growing up, and we become like more organized because we have responsibilities in a way, right? So we're giving a word to someone and we kind of following that. So it's the same in everything we live. It's always a presence of this childlike attitude, and yet also being grown up in the same time. That's I feel a task of every human being, to not to forget the child, and never get too serious about anything, but in the same time also taking responsibility for this child dreams and potentials, and also for those we walk next to each other and create with each other, and so on and so on and so on and so forth, right? So it's kind of merging this sometimes absolutely impossible sides of ourselves, because it's really complicated, right? Because imagine the image, sometimes you would see this like guy walks through the park, let's say somewhere in New York City, fully in a costume as like a business worker, and then he sees something cute, and then all of a sudden, whoo, he starts to play with some people around, or I don't know, playing football for 5 minutes, just for 5 minutes, let's say. That person allows himself or herself to have fun for this moment, and yet coming back to those responsibilities and appointments and things that this person needs to do, and explore and experience and share and create and whatever, right? So it's these both qualities are very important. I feel like this is the real merging in every human being, to merge these unmergeable sides of ourselves.
Another paradox.
Another paradox, but human life is quite one big paradox. Incredible one. Incredible one, because we have such rich variety of aspects of ourselves. Where our psychology plays a role, our spirituality plays a role, our asceticism plays a role, our creativity plays a role, our stubbornness and laziness and focus and attention and love and neglection. All of these opposites are playing role. So it's a paradox, incredible one huge big paradox.
One great play indeed. And there is one very beautiful question also that came, that asking, what does your inner child feels right now, and how do you feel like moving onwards after all this pandemic situation?
I mean, I spent quite a lot of time alone here, even before it all started globally, because I felt the urge to stop touring, stop playing, stop being external, stop being available, stop being in communication with pretty much anyone. I kept a contact for some time only with like few individuals, even before the whole pandemic started. And then it's kind of my self-retreat became like a global retreat. you know? I thought I just retreat myself from the world, and the world decided to retreat itself from me as well.
It was meant to be, it seems.
So actually, in a way, it's been a blessing to sit with my own paradoxes, because I've been digging and reflecting and playing and sometimes crying with myself, right, and reviewing and um, questioning and answering and playing and singing and dancing and meditating and being fully silent, or also like at some point also getting to be again fully available for communication with many worldwide. So how the inner child, I think that was covered in the previous question. I feel it's about merging all these opposing forces that inside myself, pretty much
Yes.
in everyone, right?
Mm.
when a child and an adult have their respected place inside. When this spontaneous thing comes around and we go on the street in Graz to play in the middle of the city during the only snowing day, the only one. That was the only snowing day. And, that day when I woke up and I looked outside, I was like, ooh, fully covered by snow. Yesterday, fully green. And today, fully white. Well, we go anyway. And we had no idea there would be bus or not. We just went for it. And the bus arrived also. So we had full production. And it was amazing to see where all these people got together and purely by love, big bite, purely by love, given their focus, attention, dedication to create that moment. It was not a money agenda. We were not sponsored by anybody. The city just gave us permission, nothing else, uh, to create that spontaneous moment, and that in that moment, when this child goes out to play spontaneous, then comes something else which can hold that space and be in focus and being fully in presence. Because if you ask a child to be fully in that space like that, I'm not sure if it's possible. Child wants to play and go around, so he plays guitar for 5 minutes, and then he's going to eat candy, and then he's throwing the candy, and he's going to do something else, right? Or he's drawing, or she's drawing for 3 hours. It's just changing focus. So for us, this is the merging place where we can sit in that presence, and but for it needed the child to say hello, let's go, even it's fully snowing outside.
For those who don't know, we can probably mention that the video is on YouTube channel, and it's really really worth seeing. Since you introduced us to it so beautifully right now, so we can go ahead and have a look at it. And beautiful. And there is one question that actually reflects on your journey up to this point, and asking, what would you say that you are the most happy about so far concerning your musical journey? Let's keep it in that musical sphere.
Concerning musical,
Yes.
I mean, I would say music as what we understand what music is. In my case, is of course playing and being in music and being music in that space. Reflected to me not just as a reflection, but also as a holy space of um, of a grandmaster, of a greatest teacher, of a temple space that I can sit with absolutely opposing emotions, and yet within that state, within that space, feel that everything is fine no matter what, right? So it's wholeness, this wholeness, this unseparateness, undividedness. That's what actually may be the best thing we can say what it is. But again, in my case, that's playing music, but also I felt it throughout my life in various situations when I didn't play guitar as well. Maybe I'm not yet entirely in that place where I can say, yes, I'm there all the time. Mostly there than anywhere else. Let's say I'm fully there yet. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I will never be there. Maybe I always need this slight glitches into this division connection. Maybe that's the way it works. I have no idea, because when we listen to great masters and great philosophers and great teachers and those on the path just in front of us walking, so to say, right, we never know what they each experiencing until we experience ourselves. We can be inspired by them, we can listen to what they have to say, but the walk each has to walk. So in that sense, like, I don't know how Estas would feel in 5 minutes from now, in 6 months from now, in 5 years from now. Maybe I will be more in that whole space inside myself. Maybe, it's spending time with in the solitude for so long, been very healthy, very beneficial to strengthen something, to align something. And what happens there, it's like alignment of these opposing forces, and acceptance is part of it, nourishing is part of it. White flag to the self is part of it. You just stop the battle. And so this is what it is. So music as a reflector, as a teacher, as a holy space, as a temple, definitely been the greatest teacher for me in that sense, as a reminder, as a guide, as a guide force.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We can a little bit switch the gear right now and talk about one of your, probably one of the most beloved compositions, the Song of the Golden Dragon. And many beings have some questions about the story behind this piece. And some of them are even recalling an previous interview of yours, where you mentioned that one day maybe you will say the story. So is this a right moment to say something more about what is behind that great composition?
I mean, for one person, maybe it sounds like a composition. For me, it's more like a something. It's a flow of life that is changing. Whatever title I would give to it, you know, original title had some other significance, and actually original rhythm of it was very different. It came out as this very slow waltz. It was very slow actually. As most of these fast-going pieces that eventually got their own dynamics over the years, they were just intros. So out of like a little romantic, mellow intro, something comes out. Something comes out because life goes on, and then life kind of brings flavors and colors into it, and of course dynamics. That's what happens because things change, right? And then whatever was the golden dragon in that moment, in that period, eventually became internal flight, became this one ongoing long trip, sometimes played for 1 hour, sometimes played for 3 hours, sometimes played 45 minutes, sometimes played for 5 hours, and then even this already isn't the same. Even the internal flight already isn't the same. It's already changed into something else. And who knows what it would be like when actually I get back on stage or anywhere to perform, not once, but really for some periods of time. Then I will really see what it became, because it would reflect my own being. You see? Until I actually do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 times, I don't know what will come out, because I'm not sitting in a home and collecting pieces and trying to reproduce them. That's not the way I operate. I can do that, but it's not my way, you know. So the story about the golden dragon, so to say, actually, its name as a golden dragon, it received in Palenque in Mexico. When I was in Mexico, staying in this beautiful kind of community place next to pyramids. And this beautiful brother, when I spoke with him and I was telling him that, wow, this piece already forming, but I don't know yet the name of it. I kind of wanted to call it the Son of Quetzalcoatl, the one-feathered serpent, because at the time I was going through Mexico through different temples and being fascinated with the story of a Quetzalcoatl, of basically a flying serpent. And flying serpent, what it is, in a way, it's a dragon. What is a flying serpent? and then that kind of like mythology and symbology been my own labyrinth in a way. I've been going through this for many years, right? And been fascinated also with the mythology of the Maya and observing the Mayan calendar. Uh, and and this bro, he basically said like, hey, it sounds like a golden dragon, you know? So that's how the name got itself. And of course, through years, it was developing, and then uh, it was captured in 2011 on the festival in Germany on the street, right? But can I say that that was the best version? No, I cannot say that, because this is just some beautiful postcard that was captured. Imagine how many other postcards were never published or captured, you know, but they were played and experienced, and it arrived to that moment. And then that moment was not also the end, it's evolving moment. So I would say nowadays people say like, oh, Stas, can you play Golden Dragon? I say, I just played it for a few hours, became something else. But it's always will be there, because this is kind of like part of me, you know. So it will be always there, but it would be given to it different titles based on the moment, right? These are just titles, but we are given titles to the ongoing moment and the way we feel, right? So when I look at the recording database, which I have archives, when I can listen to the evolution of this golden dragon, I have those few recordings when it just started to appear, and it started to appear already in New York when I was in New York before going to Mexico, and I could see like it was slowly shaping and developing, because that's the way I work. You know, I'm not kind of putting things in a mathematical formula that works. I go based on the feeling, and then later I can have a look that, wow, that's a mathematical formula. You know, that's not the way, it's the opposite way. It's first a feeling, and then I can recognize there is a mathematical formula there, right? Because it structures itself. I'm not doing it, right? And a lot of musicians work the opposite way. They see formula that works very well, and then they're trying to reproduce the formula in their own way, but still connect, like, you know, the chorus, the thing, the patatata, paracatutu, paracatata, and la la la, and da da da. You know, 3 minutes we have a hit song. No, sorry.
No, that's definitely not your style. Thank you for sharing this. I'm sure that many will actually enjoy hearing this. And musically, if we look into a little bit into upcoming days, maybe weeks, are you preparing something musically, artistically, something that we can look forward to?
You know, before I actually go into the like a full on new chapter of my life, I needed to stop. I needed to reflect. I needed to review. Uh, when we go through experience after experience, through one to another, to three, to 120, 300,000 experiences, right? The more and more we get full and full and full and full and full and full and full, you know, at some point we get to overload. And what an individual need to do is to empty ourselves again. Because let's say if I would constantly move and play, right, as I would live my life earlier days, I would constantly feel and empty, feel and empty. That's how it's been for a long time, right? And these last few years, I felt like I arrived to a place where I cannot empty. You know, it's like I cannot take more experiences right now. I needed to empty myself. I really needed my time, you know. So before I go into like creating like a full-on new album or new film or whatever it needs to be there, whatever needs to come, because there are crazy amounts of ideas for pretty much any field. It could be a movie, it could be a short movie, it could be a full album, solo album, collective album with lots of people around the world. I needed my time, So of course we have a lot of material that years, quite a lot, right? So we are slowly releasing them as solo ones, as the trio ones, as the quartet ones, as those beautiful, precious moments that were captured in various situations. Mostly stage, but also some of them were the festival, some of them were through different meetings. So um, as we do everything ourselves, sometimes it's a bit complicated to continue share that with the world. So it could be also ethically clean, right, without pushing it on everyone's face. But in the same time, like, how else can we share it? Because we don't have some big company behind us pushing it forward, right? Putting it on TV or putting on radios on blah 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 and all this normal industry standards, right? So it's an aspect where how we stay pure, right, and yet still available and still be able to share, do, as artists, as just cosmic wanderers, right? So this is kind of like a time I've been taking from being super busy to less busy, but also reflect on all these creative potentials, because also there is a process of writing a book is happening right now as well, very slow, but I'm not pushing it, and there is a collaboration going on with a dear friend from Brazil, Eloisa Prieto. She's a fairy tale writer for kids mainly. She's been published author for many decades actually, right? She's quite an incredible woman. So I work with her right now. It's kind of co-inspiring each other because she's writing a book about a musician in a way. So I am there, and also she helps me to kind of bring a few of my ideas as well on page. So there is a lot. Creativity is ongoing. It just in people's perceptions, they expect us to write a new song, or do some sort of a new something, but they don't know that I live my life daily, and the change is ongoing. I'm not the same person that I was even like yesterday, 2 days ago. I mean, this is too short, but let's say a year ago or 5 years ago. So things evolve and change, and if some sort of creative condensed manifestation of it would appear in some sort of a form of an album or film or DVD or a book or anything, or just a post, right, or a postcard, it will happen when it happens.
Yes. We definitely look forward to anything what happens out of those, and I feel that we might have arrived, as you often say, that we arrived to the conclusion of our fruitful, joyful conversation. And I would like to thank again everyone who contributed with the lovely questions, and of course thank you, Estas, for your presence and for the musical gifts and artistic gifts you are sharing with all of us. And I'm sure that many of our listeners would agree with me saying that we really cannot wait to gather again together physically somewhere around the world and hear you playing live. And until this happens, then we are all invited to, of course, follow your channels and follow the newest releases and any spontaneous sharings that may occur. And the same with Flying Universe. You can get into the Flying Universe also and attend some events that we are preparing for you with wonderful musicians from around the world. So may we all be just well and happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share and for all the questions, because it's impossible to answer all the questions. Maybe we can get to this place where we could meet more often, but as much as I love to share, as much I love my own kind of space as well. I feel it's very important for everyone, to be both. It's time to get out to the world and time to go in ourselves. So when the time comes, we share more, of course. In the
Thank
meantime,
you.
we just keep walking. No, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.